because of a nasty bite in the past. We were assured it was accidental. And there's Olive, another Heron Island moray. They don't come much bigger than this specimen. The white spots on the head and mouth are wounds, probably from a fight with another eel. There's no disputing that the moray is a dangerous animal. Its backward-pointing fangs are razor-sharp. If it does bite, the jaws can lock onto your flesh and leave an extremely nasty wound. Our experience was that while you had to be very careful with them, there was little evidence of a deliberately aggressive nature. It's hard to reconcile warnings about a vicious temperament with this behaviour, where we see an obvious bond between moray eels and a human being. It proves that it is possible to at least train a moray eel, even if it can't be completely tamed. At the end of a dive, some of us are reluctant to leave the underwater world. Others have to make a conscious effort to slow down the ascent. Going up too fast is always dangerous. Slow it must be, despite the urge to reach the air and talk about the experiences down below.
That was incredible stuff, mate. Thank you very much. Time to get the party frog up.
You won't find sharks and moray eels on every dive, but the enthusiasm, even for experienced divers, never seems to fade in the waters around the southern cays of the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, another one of those this afternoon?
Yeah, tonight.
And tonight, yeah, sure. No problem. More up.
If you can imagine, you have a coral reef like this sitting out in the middle of the ocean, and this is your prevailing southeasterlies coming in here. These big strong waves hit that reef, they smash off bits of coral, break off the algae, and they transport it over onto the top of the reef like this. But when the waves come around the cay like this and meet, around the reef I should say, they meet in the middle like this, lose their energy and dump the sand, and that's how the cay forms.
And it just builds up and out from there.
Yes, it's a tremendous process.
It's a general rule that doesn't always apply. Some cays form at the other end of the reef when lumps of coral are piled up by the waves. And occasionally, a reef will throw up two cays, like mirror images of each other. After millions of years developing the reef platform, the growth of a cay from birth to maturity is comparatively fast. It's measured in mere centuries. At first, the sand of a newborn cay is below the high tide mark. Gradually, a mini island or a spit of sand is high enough to remain exposed at all times. When birds discover the sand stays high and dry, it becomes a convenient resting place and a future home for nesting. The first vegetation takes root and the cay keeps on growing in size. Probably around 1,000 years after the first sand broke the surface, the cay is a substantial place. Rainwater is trapped, birds and animals have established colonies, and small forests are thriving. An island created by the wind and the sea has come alive. The tropical sun rising and setting and the ebb and flow of the tide twice a day are the natural rhythms that govern daily life for every creature and plant on a cay. First light belongs to birds. Seagulls, as usual, scavenge for anything they can find. The beach birds rummage for breakfast in a dawn patrol along the high tide mark. Reef herons, some grey, some white, are taking the first graceful steps of the day as they hunt on the tidal flat. And the seabirds that nest on the cay start a journey offshore for a day's fishing. below the surface, the greyness of first light is giving way to the multicoloured world of daytime. The first fish of the day are emerging, moving out from nooks and crannies in the coral for a day's grazing or hunting.
Immersing yourself in someone else's world, an ecosystem that's not ours. I mean, there is still so much to know, so much to learn and understand, and the novelty never wears off.
Tina Dalton from the National Parks and Wildlife Service, a perfect companion for diving on a reef that's part of the world's largest marine park. The full light of day shows us the meaning of richness of life around a cay. You'll find more species of fish on a coral reef than in any other part of the sea.
When you look at a fish, you think, oh, I've heard about it doing this, or I've read about it doing that, so you look to see if, just possibly, if you're lucky, it might just do it. And occasionally, some quite extraordinary things do happen while you're there watching.
Manta rays. An encounter with these underwater giants is like finding a living sunken treasure. They're like nothing we expect to find on Earth. So large and bizarre looking, yet so gentle and harmless, feeding only on plankton, some of the smallest creatures in the sea. And something else extraordinary, another fish that seems to fly in the water, this time on a smaller scale. The oriental flying gurnard, or robinfish, is rarely seen, let alone filmed. And you can see why when he decides to leave. It's up periscope and full speed ahead. Midday is peak hour for the fish. It's when most of the feeding takes place and when you can see more activity than at any other time of day. Trumpet fish are among the more exotic looking of the predators. Their long, thin bodies and brilliant colour seem to be no handicap in sneaking up on food. What they do is hang close to another fish and mimic their movements exactly, hoping to fool their prey. Here we see one attaching itself to a school of hussars. The hussars seem to be more interested in the divers. They've become used to humans and are always on the lookout for food, like pigeons in a park.
They're naturally a fairly aggressive fish, so they know when they see a plastic bag and some divers coming down, the first thing is they do, and you probably experienced, they go straight for you and they'll nip at anything.
Part of the daily underwater routine involves these slender blue-striped fish, the cleaner wrasse.
This is a crazy fish. It's only this small, and yet it can swim in and out of the gills, in the mouths of these huge fish that would normally eat a small fish that size. But because these fish, over hundreds of thousands of years, have come to know that they can benefit from having this small cleaner wrasse, working over them, picking up bits of dead skin, cleaning off parasites, they don't attempt to attack it. In fact, these little fish have set up what are called cleaning stations, and fish from all around know these cleaning stations, and they come there for a service, just as you'd take your car to a garage, and then they go away and another fish will come in and the cleaner wrasse does his thing in the mouth and around the teeth, They stand there with their mouth open and let this little fish swim in and out.
All it would take is a quick snap and the cleaner fish would be just another tasty morsel. But hunting for cleaner fish is just not on. However, there is a false cleaner fish that imitates the good guys before taking a fast nip from an unsuspecting victim. It's a risky way to make a living. The painted sweetlip has been around too long to be fooled by a fishy imposter. One bite and the mimic is gone. A day in the life of a coral cay takes on a different character as the light fades. Birds that have been fishing at sea return to their nests on the islands. After a day buried in the sand away from the heat of the sun, a large baler shell has been found crawling in the shallows. Its fleshy mantle fully extended for hunting, the baler has one of the early starts on a night shift that's taking over right across the reef and the cay. As divers, The night is when we are most aware that we belong in another world. That we are intruders into a foreign, unnatural environment. A night dive gives a sense of excitement and a premonition of danger. It's when creatures like sharks and moray eels are out hunting, invisible in the inky blackness. The water absorbs our lights, restricting us to a cocoon of visibility only a few metres across. Compared with the brilliant colours and activity of daylight, little seems to be happening. But this part of a day in the life of a cay gives us a view of the reef that's normally hidden. Creatures that would allow us nowhere near them in daylight are approachable. A drowsy stingray glides away almost in slow motion. Even after contact, there's no attempt to use the poison barbs in the tail. While the ray seeks the comfort of darkness, other creatures seem intrigued by our splashes of light. But divers are another matter. It seems impossible that so many fish have disappeared. There don't seem to be enough hiding places. But sleeping fish have wedged themselves into crevices or holes in the reef. From such a safe spot deep in the structure of coral, being nudged awake at midnight is a rude shock. Eyes open but unseen. At night, these fish are so dependent on their coral hideouts that when exposed they stagger around, unsure of where they are, bumping into the undersea rubble like startled sleepwalkers. Surprisingly, we find an old boat engine. It's a piece of man-made debris that's been turned into a bedroom by a sleeping coral trout. A beam of light reveals what looks like a swarm of insects, the nighttime plankton that emerge in their millions from the crevices, the sandy floor, and the deeper parts of the reef. Most of them are microscopically small, but they are what provides the food for most of the nighttime feeders. And that includes the coral. The tiny organisms are trapped by the polyps, feeding by chance on whatever plankton happens to drift by. The predators of the dark are on the prowl. A pretty but dangerous fish with many names. Lionfish, zebra, butterfly cod, or firefish. It's a hunter that herds its prey into a tight corner. Don't be fooled by the delicate lacy fins. This fish can kill. The spines on the back contain a powerful poison. Another one to be avoided, a long-spined sea urchin. The spines are an all-over poisonous protection to allow it to move around in the open, away from its normal hiding place, wedged in a crevice. And of course, there's the biggest marine predator of them all. Human beings trawling the ocean bottom between reefs pull up a remarkable sample of the life that's found in areas known scientifically as the interreefal zones.
The diversity of catch you've got here is just phenomenal. Food. In a lot of Asian countries, for instance, they probably eat all of this. Here's a beautiful red spot prawn, very popular in Japan. That prawn alone be worth... Gordon, what would this be worth in Japan? A couple of bucks each?
Something like that.
Probably $3 to $5 worth in Japan. But the red spot prawn, beautiful eating, beautiful. These guys that work on trawlers really get to know these animals, and one of them was saying a while ago, oh, fantastic, there's a biologist on board and we'll ask you all about the animals. And I said, come on, man, you know a lot more about these animals than I do, and they really do.
Bearded girl with sharp spikes, hurts like hell. Puffer fish. He's got a lovely set of teeth on him. He'd bite your finger off as fast as look at you.
Take it right off.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, really, just like a real guillotine. See how the spikes all bend over that side? Touch them on the other, they'll bend over the other side.
He doesn't miss much, does he?
The famous blue ring octopus.
That's
Those
right.
beautiful iridescent little blue rings.
Yeah, dangerously attractive, aren't they? That, of course, is a fatal...
Yes, that one can be fatal. And when you annoy them, often those blue rings will flash. Beautiful iridescent effect. Fantastic animals for changing colour. If you put them on a checkerboard or something, they'll go black and white.
The trawlermen take the commercial varieties out of the catch, like the lobsters, prawns, scallops, or whatever will sell. The rest of it goes back to the sea for a second chance at life as another day starts around a coral cay.
Hold on. Whoa!